chair of a board of a Karelian League to share his knowledge and views on the evacuee experiences in Finland.
It's an honor to be here with you and discuss about Ukraine and Finland is an example how it worked, and my presentation will include similarities between Ukraine and Finland, short history, and then the Karelian during Second World War, and what was then the Karelian League, and what was the aim and the means how to handle the Karelians inside the Finnish society, because we are also Finns, and we have a subgroup of Finns, and even the first border between Novgorod and Sweden was through the Karelia, and it divides Finnish to the eastern part, Finns, east and north Finns, and the south and Finns, and they are genetically like separate. So that all countries, we are a mixture when we look, and now it's there are no pure Finns or Germans or Ukrainians, because it has been big changes, movements or people through history. And I would like to remember that yesterday it was 80 years when the Second World War was ended. It is an important day for us, for the whole Europe, and we Finns regret our deeply for current situation in Ukraine, and since the Russia started war in your country. Finland has an experience of Soviet invasion in Winter War, when Finland was forced to give up 12% of its land area, and 430,000 people were evacuated, mainly from Karelia and also some northern parts of Finland. The expropriated area was clearly larger than which one conquered by the Russian soldiers, and we had to give up all 3 unconquered towns in that area: Viborg, Käkisalmi, and Sortavalo. Finns and Ukrainians have similar historical experiences of Soviet Union and Russia. Both countries gained independence from Russia's successor in 1917 and 1918. Finland declared independence 6th December 17, and Ukraine 22nd January 18. Lenin sought to annex both countries to Soviet Russia by supporting internal revolutions, and that the results of those revolutions are quite separate. In Ukraine, there was a civil war between Bolsheviks and Ukrainian independence advocates and Poles for several years. In the Treaty of Riga, a large part of Ukraine was annexed to Soviet Union, and the western part was transferred to Poland. The Ukrainian nation was divided, and you got your independence back 24th August 91. In Finland, the civil war was fought from January to April 1918. The Whites defeated the Red ones, and the peace was signed in Tartu, Estonia, October 1920, and Finland connected to the Arctic Ocean by annexing Petsamo to its territory. And the peace was between Finland and Soviet Union. Ukrainians had to suffer on the border between East and West, but like the Karelians in history, and we have had periods You have had periods like a huge famine in early 1930s, the artificially generated Holodomor, and death of people may have been more than 10 million people. I remember when we visited in Canada, I um, saw that there was many Ukrainian museums in the in middle and western part, and then I looked my history book, and there are living more than 1 million Ukrainians in Canada, and they are refugees from First World War and during the Holodomor mainly. The Second World War hit both countries hard, and we know the history. And we Finns had the Winter War and then the continued war, and nowadays in Finland there are more than 60,000 Ukrainians have temporary protection in Finland. About 5 million Ukrainians live outside country's borders, mainly in Poland and Germany. The number of people fleeing the war corresponds to the number of evacuees in Finland 85 years ago, about 12% of the population. The Finnish Karelian League, which I present, was founded on 20 April 1940 as a courtship organization for Karelian evacuees. It was a clear political program. Today, it has a task of preserving, transferring, and renewing Karelian culture in time. The importance of Karelian League in managing the affairs of evacuees cannot be underestimated even today. The Finnish Parliament, the Karelian League aims were promoted by an unofficial Karelian party, which included all 40 Karelian members of the parliament, regardless of the party they represented. The League's task was to support the settlement of evacuees in new areas. The commissioners toured the placement areas, provided information and advice on temporary housing, on receiving support and assistance, and on various dilemmas to increase the cohesion of the evacuees. Newly established local Karelian associations had a crucial role on the grassroots level by providing peer support. The League's lawyers, on the other hand, made legislative initiatives concerning settlement, land acquisition, and compensation for lost property. Several laws were passed over 5 years period to compensate the property lost and by evacuees and to acquire land. And the Finnish Parliament elections were 1939, and next ones after 6 years, so that they were working under emergency laws. At the beginning of the continuation war, Karelia, which was lost earlier, was conquered back. About 70% of the Karelian evacuees returned to their former homeland, especially the farming population. Homesickness was another reason to come back. The food shortage was huge, and therefore all the field was needed for use. Badly destroyed areas began to be rebuilt. Lightweight standard houses were developed, and frontline soldiers supported the settlement by carving 9,000 log houses during their rest shifts. And the second departure came 10th June 1944 under a major Soviet offensive. The role of state, municipalities, parishes, and voluntary organizations was significant in helping evacuees in evacuation, housing and supporting. The Finnish Women's Voluntary National Defense Organization Lotta Svärd played a key role on the home front and in war zones. It is at its peak, the organization had 200,000 members. They played a key role in the care of evacuees and in the receiving municipalities and along the evacuation routes. It was important that 60% of evacuees made their living from farming. The farming population from one village was mainly placed in the rest of Finland in the same municipality. This did give safety and in many problems, and it was neighbors could be again neighbors. About 1/3 acquired their farm through voluntary purchases. To the rest, farmland was primarily handed over by municipalities, parishes, or large farms. Some farms had to clear their entire field from the forest. The state provided equipment and labor for the clearance. Those who earned their living in industry and trade were employed by their employers in new localities. Parents, the housing shortage in population centers was enormous. The lost property was compensated in accordance with the law enacted for this purpose. The smallest listed losses were paid in full, but the compensation percentage for larger losses decreased rapidly. The last law in compensation matters was made 1957. The compensation paid were financed by properly transfer taxes, which were collected especially from large shareholders and companies. The tax increased progressively and was at its highest 20% of the company's value. The tax was paid in company shares so that production would not suffer. The companies remedied then their shares over a period of 10 years. Rapid settlement and starting work as soon as possible were in Finland were a Finnish innovation, we could say, that brought hope for the future to the evacuees and their families. The application of the same land acquisition and compensation laws to frontline soldiers, disabled war veterans and war widows ensured the preservation of post-war political and social peace. Soviet Union may have had ulterior motives about Finland joining to the satellite states. I could say that we Finns saved our independence during these two wars, and especially how we handled the people who were in as soldiers worked during those 5 years, and also how the Karelian evacuees were handled. And as a short ending, I would say that for decades the goal of Karelian League has been to honor the work of our ancestors with the evacuees Flag Day, and this year it was possible because Minister of Interior Mari Rantanen stated it in response to a written question in Finnish Parliament. The topic of the Flag Day is valuable and worth remembering. Citizens and organizations can start flying the flag on their own initiative, even if the state is not ready to increase the number of official flag days. We remember on that Flag Day our earlier generation, and we remember also at the same time the whole war generation. And flying flag on that day is for evacuees, all evacuated people, all refugees. The importance of, because we point that the importance of peace in our world, it's our main goal, and we respect all people who have been forced to leave their homes against their will for various reasons. Thank you.
Maybe we can take one or two questions, brief questions, and then continue. Any questions?
I suppose I could ask one. I'm interested in the subject of war trauma and what it leaves in the legacy terms. If we talk about the Karelians, the legacy of what happened to them as refugees, plus the Finnish soldiers returning from the front line after the Second World War, how has that impacted Finnish society in general, the mental health situation even nowadays with the families of those people, evacuees? Are the lessons there for Ukrainians?
Yes, we know from history that there were many soldiers who had psychiatric problems, and there were those who escaped from front line and so on. It's minimized what it really was, and the Karelian people's feelings has estimated in many books, and our 80 years history book, it was, the name was piirakkaterapia, politiikkaa and piirakkaterapia. It means that culture bridge also the therapy over and the problems and what the people had, and also that the people were situated quite near each others, so that neighbor to neighbor. It was the psychiatric therapy what was the best one at that time.
Okay.
No specialist, it means that everybody support each other.
Yes, that's the meaning.
Socialization.
Socialization, yeah.
Maybe one more question.
Just a quick one. Maybe like 2-minute break. Maybe somebody wants to breathe a little bit because it's very heavy, and we will roll the screen down in the meantime.
Yeah, is it okay with you to make a couple of minutes break? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, then let's have like 3 minutes break, and then we will continue.